Hey, welcome to Inspector Josh Investigates TV. I'm Josh Paulson, a multimedia writer and speaker on story. In this podcast, I share story writing lessons we can learn from watching popular and niche TV shows. This week's lesson is how to break characters after investigating the entire series Puella Magi Madoka Magica. Warning, spoilers for the entire anime series are ahead. Not for movie number 3, but for the anime series. First off, this will be a very long episode because we'll be going through a lot of content. We'll be going through what causes emotional scars, and then we'll also be going through ways that each episode of the series actually shows a different way to scar characters. It's very thorough in breaking the characters, so we're going to get into that. First though, why is this important? Why would we ever want to hurt our characters? Well, there's a difference between long-term hurting your characters and temporarily harming them. What we are actually looking at is basically exercise. We're not talking about just breaking them for the sake of them breaking. There might be times when you want a character to crumble, to break down, but in general, what you want to do is you want to make them strong enough to handle the climax. And this is going to depend on how the character responds to the situation and all of that. But what we're looking at is basically exercise. So as I understand it, in exercise, your muscles actually break down temporarily, but then they are stronger afterwards. They come back stronger. And we're not talking about characters becoming hard of heart. We're not talking about them not acknowledging the situation. However, a character who has been through wartime is much more likely to be able to handle a death in front of them than a character who has never seen death before, who has never been so scarred, such as the characters in the series. So first, how do people get emotionally scarred? Disillusionment is the basis for all emotional scars. I'm not a psychologist, so don't take this as psychology, but here's a perspective that I think will be really helpful. So disillusionment is the basis for all emotional scars. Disillusionment is about believing you know the truth and then realizing it's not what you expected. And the truth is generally much worse. People see something they didn't expect, and they suddenly have to process 5 different things. Their perspective was wrong. They are not prepared. This has always been true. This will always be true. And nothing related to this issue will necessarily be the same. I'm going to go back through those. So number 1, the perspective was wrong, which is also I was wrong. I made a mistake. You have to acknowledge that you made a mistake, and that can be very hard for some people. I can have a hard time with that one. Basically, you know what? This is the way that things actually are. This is the truth. I thought the truth was different. I was wrong. I made a mistake. Maybe it should have been so obvious to me what the truth was. Maybe all of the signs were there, but I was wrong, despite the evidence, despite how things actually are. And you can see this in the anime when they realize that QB is actually basically using the magical girls to get energy for his own species, and that they are going to become witches, that they're all going to die, that it's really doom for them. Their perspective, the magical girls' perspectives, were wrong. Number 2, they are not prepared. This is a personal fault. Like, I'm not prepared. And this might be I can never be prepared, or I'm not prepared. And so then you don't know what to do next. You weren't putting your life in order like the truth was the truth. So, for example, what about making a choice for what your wish will be for them becoming magical girls? Or what about then Mammy's death? They definitely weren't prepared for that. And then number 3, this has always been true. Now, this isn't about moments in time so much as about general concepts. For example, it's always been true maybe that this character could turn against us. It's always been true that QB's been using the magical girls for his own ends and not really for them. And this brings on the fear of past mistakes. What have I done? What have I thought? What have I believed that has impacted my past decisions? And what's going to come back to haunt me? And then you also have number 4. This will always be true, which is fear for the future. This will always be true. This isn't going to switch back off. The problem one for this magical girl, but she'll become a witch, and then she will die. And this cycle, this will always be true. And then also number 5, nothing related to this issue will necessarily be the same, which ties into the fear of change. Things will change, but what will? Will you have to live differently? Will you have to live your entire lifestyle differently? What do I have to do in response to the situation? What is going to happen in response to this situation? Is the world going to be destroyed by Walpurgisnacht? What is going to happen for the future of the universe? What is going to happen for these different characters? Nothing related to this issue will necessarily be the same. Relationships are broken with QB, trust is broken, people are dead. Nothing related to this issue will necessarily be the same. And now we're going to go through ways that Puella Magi Madoka Magica goes through each episode and has a specific way of breaking the characters down. So in episode number 1, and these are things that lead to disillusionment. So first I will read through the list, and then I'll go through them each in more detail. So you have number 1, missing info. Number 2, Judases. Number 3, unexpected loss. Number 4, isolation. Number 5, values versus values. Number 6, unexpected consequences. Number 7, the price of success. Number 8, not God but Satan. Number 9, destroyed your own dream. Number 10, repeated failure. Number 11, heartlessness in breaking. Number 12, the only way out is all in. And then we also have self-blaming. All right, so episode number 1 has missing info. Madoka and Sayaka don't know about the witches or any about that world. So that now they've got to process that world exists, and how does that impact us? They're not prepared for the world, they don't really know what all it means, and they have to figure it out. Now, this is not super emotionally scarring, but combined with everything else, it certainly starts to add up. Episode number 2, you have Judases. Expected allies and friends are actually enemies. So, for example, Mami telling Madoka and Sayaka about magical girls fighting each other, and then them questioning Hamura. Hey, you know what, are you actually for us or against us? And then in episode 3, we have unexpected loss, and you can probably guess where this one is going. Mami's death. They weren't expecting the loss, and suddenly they have to deal with the reality that we could have always lost her. This is always a risk. And Hamura even mentions that and brings that out. Hey, this is a piece of what this is. Going into being a magical girl, you have to acknowledge and understand these risks, and they are very real. Episode number 4, you have isolation. The characters can't tell anybody about Mami's death because they don't know her. They don't know what happened. And then you can't share about the magical world with them. You can't explain it. Especially near the beginning of the episode, you have them all talking about, hey, we can't talk about these things. How do we process through them? We only have each other. And there's kind of a realization of like, we may have felt safe. We may have felt like we got this. And now we realize we don't feel like we can handle this on our own. So isolation. And then episode number 5, values versus values. Sayaka and Kyoko's values while fighting. Kyoko's about, hey, wait until this figment has eaten more people, and then you can actually get a grief seed. Whereas Sayaka's all about, hey, let's protect people. We need to take care of them. And then you also see over time the flaws in Sayaka's own belief, because the system is basically rigged against you to where you have to only defeat witches or else you become a witch. You're doomed. And then episode number 6, we have unexpected consequences, when Madoka throws Sayaka's soul gem over the edge. So you see not only the unexpected consequences of, I meant so well and things went so wrong, but then you also see, wow, we suddenly have this truth bomb dropped on us that we aren't even in our own bodies anymore. That our souls, at least for the magical girls, are in these gems separate from us. Unexpected consequences. You have to process that this is a part of life, and you have to see like, hey, how does this impact us? What does what we learned from these unexpected consequences impact us? What does it mean for the past, for what already happened? We already made this deal. We're stuck in this. Then you have number 7, episode 7, the price of success. Sayaka finding a way for her to be strong enough is to lose herself. In order to succeed at what you want to do, you have a price, and the price is ridiculous. So Sayaka, when she starts going crazy and beating on the witch, like, this doesn't hurt at all, and really going nutso, that's the price of success for her, the price of the success that she's looking for. And this is extremely scarring and very different from the truth as she thought it was. And then we have episode number 8, Not God But Satan. And this is where things really start coming out with QB on learning that magical girls become witches. And Not God But Satan is all about the one you look to for hope is actually the devil. The person, the ideal, the system that you thought would save you, that you thought would move you forward, is actually the enemy, is actually against you, is actually making your worst fears come true or worse. So not God, but Satan. And QB covers that extremely well. The characters love QB in the beginning, talking about, hey, this is my friend. Mommy calls QB her friend, but then you realize that QB is really evil, horrible, Satan. Then you have episode number 9, Destroyed Your Own Dream. Sayaka on not thinking she can be with the guy she likes now because she's just a shell, that her body's just a shell, and how can she be with him anymore? She destroyed, in her mind, her own dream. She tried for something. She thought that she was getting closer to what she really wanted, but she took not just a leap backwards. This isn't just taking a step back that you can move forward on. She actually destroyed her dream. She can never go back there, at least in her own mind. And then you also have episode number 10, Repeated Failure. Hamura trying to stop Walpurgisnacht and trying to save Madoka. But she fails over and over, and she just has to keep going. And this can really break someone down because you have later on the questions of, could I ever have done this? Am I capable? Can I actually do this? And you can keep trying and trying and trying. And it just seems like there's nothing you can do. And you have to face the fact that you have been failing repeatedly. And what do you do about this? And then we have episode number 11, Heartlessness in Breaking. And this is QB and his conversations with Madoka. And basically this is, you're sharing your pain with somebody else, and they're responding heartlessly. Madoka's trying to process through her grief, and QB's just throwing these disgusting perspectives and lies in her face. And of course, it's always harder when there's a seed of truth in there. But this is about, hey, I'm breaking right now, and nobody seems to care or be sensitive enough to actually listen and help me process. And of course, this can be even worse if the villain, like QB, pushes themselves on you. And then we have episode number 12, The Only Way Out is All In. Madoka's choice used to save the universe by going all in an extreme way. Now, this can be emotionally scarring. This can also bring hope. And really, all of these are about perspective, because one character could be broken by them forever. Another character could be broken temporarily and then become stronger. Another character may see opportunity. It's all in the character's perspective. But Madoka made a wish that forced her she essentially became a god and saved all of the magical girls from becoming witches. But she had to go all in on this thing, and it resulted in tremendous loss. She had to go all in with the wish, creating the most crazy wish possible. The only way out was all in, and that's a hard truth to face for her, for Hamura, and it can be really scarring and difficult. And also an extra one that we will talk about here is self-blaming. Madoka at times for not becoming a magical girl sooner. Sayaka seemed to be okay, but basically, what if I had done things differently? And you kind of have to face that the truth, and it might be that it's not your fault at all, and people might not recognize that. It might be like, no, it is my fault, it's all my fault. But self-blaming is a way that it can force you to check the truth or check your beliefs to the truth and really create a struggle inside of you. All right, so I'm going to repeat everything that I stated quickly. Okay, so disillusionment is the basis for all emotional scars, and people see something that they didn't expect and they suddenly have to process 5 things. 1, their perspective was wrong. 2, they are not prepared. 3, this has always been true. 4, this will always be true. And 5, nothing related to this issue will necessarily be the same. And the 13 ways that we are discussing for helping lead characters to disillusionment: 1, missing info. 2, Judases. 3, unexpected loss. 4, isolation. 5, values versus values. 6, unexpected consequences. 7, the price of success. 8, not God but Satan. 9, destroyed your own dream. 10, repeated failure. 11, heartlessness and breaking. 12, the only way out is all in. And then also our extra, self-blaming. I have to say, I also like how the end of episode 3, after the really dark moment where Mommy dies, They switched to a really dark end sequence instead of the more cheery ones in the first 2 episodes. Nice contrast and kind of a huge surprise there of, whoa, what's going on here? So, that all said, you can use these in your own story to help break characters so that they can become stronger for the climax. Or you can use it to just break them. Personally, I like looking at these as ways to strengthen characters so that they can become who they need to be at the end of the story. Even though a lot of these were all about breaking characters down, when you look at it, this also helped Madoka become prepared for her final decision that ended up saving the universe. If she hadn't realized how bad things were and began to accept that and process it, then she wouldn't have made the choice that she did. She had to realize the truth. So even though you could look at all these as, man, it's just breaking the character, it brought Madoka to a place where she could save the universe. And for your characters and your writing, you will need to break characters many times in order to make them into who they need to be, to make the decision that will change their world. Case closed. Thank you for listening. We'll return with a new case file next Monday. If you like this podcast, please leave a review on iTunes or tweet me on Twitter at Josh Paulison. See you next time.